Hi friends, welcome back. So I want to have a chat with you about Dr. Phil. And I know we never talk about Dr. Phil on this channel, and I know it's kind of a strange topic, but it'll make sense. Bear with me here. You may or may not know I'm going to be 49 next week, and I'm old, right? I remember Dr. Phil when it used to be on TV, and there was an episode he did 17 years ago that I remember very, very clearly. And for those of you who watch the show, you may remember this episode as well. It was dealing with exploitation. And I'm bringing this up because there's a dude on YouTube named Caleb Hammer who's very popular. And I did a video about him 3 weeks ago, and then also just recently, just yesterday, a video about him, and essentially getting lots of comments regarding this thing, and I'm just addressing your thoughts, and I want to share my thoughts on this whole kind of topic as well. The Dr. Phil show, the reason why it comes to mind is he did an episode about this show called Bumfights. And if you want to look it up, you can totally can, but basically what it was is that there was these, and these are all bad people, just be clear on this. There was these like people who would make these videos, and they would essentially pay homeless people to do dangerous stunts or fight each other, and it was dangerous, right? And so basically you're exploiting poor people, basically is what you're doing. Dr. Phil actually had the guy on the show, and I remember this episode very, very clearly because it was such a bizarre episode. The episode started out, and they have a bit of it on YouTube, so if you want to find it, it's called Dr. Phil Kicks Guests Off Show. Like I said, I watched this live, so, and he showed a few clips from the show, and you just basically show the type of stuff that these people would pay homeless people to do, and it's dangerous, and they would get hurt. And so then the guy came on the show, and he was dressed as Dr. Phil, and this is a scene from it. And Dr. Phil actually stopped the tape and was like, "Stop the tape, stop the tape, I'm not talking to you," and kicked him off the show. It was a really bizarre thing. Now, whether or not the whole kicking off is all planned, who knows? That part I can't tell you. But the things I remember about this and sort of just sharing with you is I remember the guy who was sort of the maker of this bum fight show. The argument he would make, he would say, "Well, the homeless people that come on our program, it wasn't our program, it was just who appear in our videos are voluntary, and we can't exploit someone who's volunteering, right?" And I want you to just think about the context of this. So a homeless person who is an alcoholic, and you say, "Hey, I'll give you a bunch of vodka if you skateboard into a wall," something like that, like something dangerous. Is the homeless person volunteering? I mean, you're facilitating someone getting hurt. And I just think about that. And I know for those of you who are young, you've never even heard of this example or like that, but just want you to understand what we're talking about here, because there's this weird, how can I say, weird enabling going on YouTube that I see quite a bit among the youth. I see it everywhere, and I want to make it very clear. This isn't necessarily new, because we had this stuff when I was a kid also, right? So it's literally this guy's putting out videotape of bad things and paying people to do said bad things, and he's making the case that it's okay, and people want to buy said tapes because they want to watch yet bad things, right? Like this is not new, the stuff we see on YouTube. And so, like, say a show like Caleb Hammer, he invites guests to come on his show, and then he just yells at them and makes fun of them, basically, right? And people like to watch that. And it's fun because when I read through comments, I read different things. So first they say, read comments and say, "Oh, Chris, you're so dumb, you don't know anything," right? That's always common among YouTube audiences, right? You always hear that one. Other ones I hear would say, "Well, Chris, you're so dumb because Caleb's guests are volunteers, right? And you can't exploit volunteers because they are volunteering the adults to be on the show." And I point to the bum fight thing, right? I question that. And then you have people who I believe are more sane, and then be like, "Yeah, I see what's going on. Caleb's getting more and more mean for this kind of stuff." And if you saw the videos recently on the Caleb thing, which I have a recording of a phone call, and you can find it, and you can find other sources of it. The phone call does appear to be real, and then Caleb doesn't ever say like that it's not real, and it's his voice, etc. And essentially, he's connecting one of his guests to do content on OnlyFans with another person or whatever. So it's not a good look. That's all I have to say about that. I'm bringing all of these things up because sometimes people, there was a comment that said, "Hey, Chris, why would you even cover this topic?" Because it relates to my personal experiences, also relates to many things that we talk about on this channel. And I'll try to make it really clear as possible. One is, if you don't save, you don't invest, you don't manage your money well, you put yourself in financially precarious situations, financially dangerous situations, that you become desperate and you then do anything that you can for money, right? It's just not good a situation to be in, to where like you have to like sacrifice your body or whatever number of things just because you need money. Not a good situation, right? So this is why you always want to be taking care of yourself financially. Two, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this too, is there's people out there that only think about money. That's all they think about, right? And this would be from the exploiter side. So for example, the guy at the bum fights, he's like, oh, I'm making money off of this, and I'm giving the homeless people money, and it's a fair exchange, and no one, there's no losers here, right? That's his example. Or, the Caleb person, which I mentioned on his channel, he now sells a course, and from his point of view, is like, well, I mean, I'm making money, and if people want to buy my said course, yeah, so be it, right? It's like or another example would be, well, people come on my show and I pay for their gas, and they know what they're getting themselves into. So that's what Caleb's producer would say. They would say, oh, these are adults, they know what they're doing, they know what they get themselves into, then Caleb either yells at them, swears at them, these kind of things, acts it up because they get more views and stuff like that. Again, it's for some people, they will do anything for money because that's the end result, right? It's, hey, I got money in my bank account, so be it. And this topic comes up a lot. If you guys follow my channel, this, where I occasionally I'll do a video about, hey, it looks like this person's scamming their audience. Please watch out. Please be careful out there. And in fact, I can't even cover all of the scams and frauds out there on YouTube. There are so many. I mean, it's like every day I look up, I'm like, oh my God, there's just so many. And every now and then I just want to make those kind of videos because it's like so egregious, right? I generally just want to cover the general news, cover the general markets, stuff like that. But even with markets and general news, like you got to cover misinformation, disinformation, scams, frauds, etc. And again, I say this stuff all the time on this channel. This is why we need a community to sort of navigate this stuff together. And even on the last video I did on, say, the Caleb Hammer situation, I wasn't sure what to make of the phone call. Is this real or not? And I was giving Caleb the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I don't want to just jump to conclusions. And as it turns out, it is real. And now I'm just like, oh my God, so like how to address this stuff. And this is really deep, complicated problems that we have in society. It's not just YouTube, it's just like society as a whole. And kind of what I want you to be thinking about too is sort of when you're in these situations, right? Be it at work, be it at school, be it in your personal life, where there's compromising situations. So the best way to describe it is, and I'll give you an example from my life. So I worked in the film industry, right? And you need money to make movies, essentially. And there was a hedge fund guy, and he would always ask me to do like really bizarre things, not for him, in front of him, with other people, and I'd always refuse. And was like, what are you talking about? and I can't even repeat this kind of stuff on YouTube. And for those of you who've never experienced this kind of world, you have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, right? And he's like, oh, Chris is just making stuff up. And the reason why I'm just like, are you crazy? Because like literally now we have a tape of Caleb Hammer being involved with this kind of stuff, and it's like, how can you deny that this world exists? Like, are you crazy? And the thing is, like, when I read comments of potentially comments of enablers, or it's not just the Caleb Hammer guy, you could talk about the Meet Kevin guy or whoever scammer. It's like you have these like all these enablers everywhere. It's crazy because they're essentially blinded by likes and subscribers and money. They're just like, oh well, if someone has a whole bunch of subscribers and a whole bunch of money, therefore they must be good, because that's all that matters in today's world, right? It's really disturbing. And I actually have these conversations every day with my wife, because I always tell her like, well, this crazy stuff that goes on YouTube. And it's funny because it's to young kids, it sounds really weird to young kids, and hopefully not every young kid. That's why I try to make these videos. But I know to many young kids, it sounds weird, like that a person would maybe not necessarily be concerned about all the most likes possible, the most subscribers possible, right? I'll give you a simple example. It's like every day, if I wanted to, I could get up and I could tell you that Bitcoin is the most awesome thing ever, and that you're all going to be rich. And I can give you all the news about Bitcoin and Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and all the crypto, stuff, and tell you how great it is. And there's so many channels out there that do that because it's popular and kids love that stuff. I think just let that sink in. If you understand what I'm talking about here, I can do any number of things that I don't myself believe in. This is what shilling is, but I know it's popular and it gets views and likes, etc. So this is the stuff that you have to do every single day in your life. It's not just YouTube, it's your life. Is you have to ask yourself, am I willing to do things that I don't want to do just for the money, right? So for me personally, in my career and in my life, and kind of why I talk about this stuff all the time, I never just choose the money. It's just not for me. And I find out the times that I do this, do something for the money, I find out I'm really more unhappy than if I choose something just because I just really want to do it. Obviously, the dream is to, be in a career, be in a situation where you do things you like to do, you have fun, and you make money, right? That world can't exist. But this is sort of what you need to search for yourself, things that you feel comfortable with yourself and feel comfortable and happy with what you contribute to the world and how you relate to other people. I was a professor for about 10 years. I always mention that because I had to do this all the time. I had to come in to the classroom and be a role model for young people. And I took that stuff very, very seriously. And even among, professors, like a lot of professors don't take that stuff seriously. To them, it's just a job, right? It's not everyone necessarily takes it as their calling. Moreover, this is another complicated issue. The whole world is complicated if you take time to understand people's point of views and why they believe that certain way. There was a comment like a week or so ago, and someone's like, "Oh, Chris, now that I found out you're a professor, my point of view is soured. I just think you're a worse person now." Basically, they literally said my point of view is soured because I found out you're a professor, and I'm just like, what world do we live in where people don't like education? But that's the current young generation, and I get why people feel that way. I get, trust me, guys, I know a lot more about the world than I say all the time because I can't cover everything. And regarding the education thing, it has to do with someone's experience. So if someone, goes to, just to be frank, a poor school, because not every school is good out there, and they have a poor professor and it seems like a waste of time, and they graduate and they get out and they have no job, then you think, oh yeah, education's terrible. Of course you would think that because your experiences were poor. But it's not like everyone is out there is like that. It's not like everyone out there goes to a poor school, has poor professors, and doesn't get a job. It's not the experience of everyone, right? I also understand it's not the experience of everyone that goes to a good school, has good professors, and gets a good job, right? There are different experiences for different people. And that's sort of what I try to help you understand is learn from other people's experiences, learn from other people's mistakes, and learn to recognize how the world works. And it's complicated, and it's going to be different in your neck of the woods than say my neck of the woods, because the world is huge. The thing is that I know go along in these things, but the thing is I just want you to be thinking about when you navigate life is to be really conscious of where you are, what you're doing, and your effect on other people. Again, I'll just state this very clearly. I understand the youth culture to these days. It's all about likes and views, etc. And so some people out there, they're just like, you know what? I'm going to eat laundry soap because that's popular. And people do that stuff. Really? I'm like, what? Like what kind of world do we live in? It's like, and that's why I'm showing you this old video, because we had these kind of thinking when I was a kid as well. I hadn't thought about this Dr. Phil thing for a long time, this whole bumfights thing. I hadn't thought about this for years, really. But I think it really relates to the stuff that we see on YouTube today. And, if you've been following the channel, we talked about just a couple of days ago, there was a study recently where the earlier in life that you get a cell phone, mobile phone, whatever you want to call it, the earlier in life that you get a phone, the more unhappy you'll be as an adult, which I think is really an interesting, social thing to think about, right? So basically what we're saying is try to avoid, the sort of social media as long as you can, when you're young, because it affects your mental health when you get older. And I can just tell you, for example, so, I just told you already my age, I'm 49. I don't really have any problems with the social media stuff. Why? Because I know when I read crazy comments, it's just crazy people. And why do I care what crazy people think? I don't care. The way I look at it is if I'm walking down the street and some crazy person on the street, there's crazy people on the street out in this world, and they're just yelling stuff about, whatever. I don't give a F. I don't care. It's just a crazy person. And you have to learn to recognize that. The problem is right now is we kind of endorse crazy behavior because it gets attention. We endorse crazy behavior because it's popular, I guess. And people then ascribe to want to do that because it gets, the most clicks and likes and views, etc. And I just want to tell you guys that not everyone is in that camp. As strange as it may sound, here's a simple example is the the CoffeeZilla dude made a video about Norris Trade recently, and you guys know we talk about it in the video. And if you watch any Norris Trade video, he's like, flashing luxury handbags all the time and clothes with luxury, labels on this, stuff like that. And I'm just telling you guys that the people that I know that have money do not behave like that. Meaning that if the only world that you know is like these scammy people on YouTube, you think like everyone's doing that kind of thing, right? And this is sort of why I encourage you to get out in the world and to open your how can I say, your circle of friends and the views of other people, because you may be surprised. And I'll tell you another thing that always blows people's mind because I mention my age all the time, is that they think, just regular people, is that everyone sort of subscribes to this sort of scammy, hustling lifestyle, and it's like work, 24/7 all the time, trying to get as much money as you possibly can. But I'll tell you guys, it eats at your soul if you go that route. This is why it's so easy for me to do YouTube, because I just get up, share my feelings, I smile, and I don't have to like spin some crazy story. Whereas other channels I mentioned you guys before on the channel, like for example the Tesla channels, whenever there's bad news, they got to come up with some spin story of why Tesla's good. They got to do that kind of stuff, and then they have to create this alternate reality. And a lot of channels out there do that. And essentially why you do that kind of thing is because you have an audience that's expecting you to give them the good news of the Lord, to give you the good news of the cult, right? And so when you have that pressure on you, like that's what you have to do. Now that's popular, sure, but it eats at your soul. And so I understand, guys. I don't have a very big channel. I'm a pretty small channel, actually. Why? Because I don't necessarily say things that people want to hear all the time. I say my honest opinion. I could give a F if people don't like it. It's just, I don't care. I care that I give you honest opinions. I care that I give you facts as much as I can. And I also tell you too, guys, if I don't know something, and like let's say the tape thing yesterday, I wasn't sure if it was real or not. I just wanted you to hear also. And so my goal is to just build a community where we can trust each other's opinions on stuff and be like, hey, I see this. This is what I think, but I'm not sure. What do you think? So I know I addressed a lot of stuff in this video. I know I talk a lot about a lot of different things on this channel, but I just want you to just be aware that exploitation does happen, whether or not you think the guest is voluntary. You can still exploit someone, and I'll leave it with that. And if you want to look at this Dr. Phil show, Dr. Phil Kicks Out Guests Off show, you can. That is the name of the video. You can easily find it. I'm just thinking that this is the first thing that came to my mind. And yes, and I know Dr. Phil has a bunch of controversies as well. Believe me, guys, I really get it. And I'm just telling you that the world is a messy, messy place. And we have to learn to navigate together. And it takes time to find people that you really trust and that have your back. So thanks again for watching, everyone. And I'll catch you next video.